Hey everyone. Okay, this will be cool. One of the rare moments where I moderate a fireside chat instead of being on a panel. So, just a quick introduction to ourselves. My name is Glenn. I'm the Director for Global Affairs at the Blockchain for Good Alliance. And of course, you saw our founder and also the CEO of Bybit talking just now. Together with me, I have Mavis. Maybe you can give us a quick introduction about yourself and then I can get kickstarted with this chat and let's have a fun and informal one.
Yes, thank you so much, Glenn. So I'm Burcu. I have been working for the UNDP United Nations Development Program for the last 4 years, and I'm Blockchain Academy and Accelerator lead. So we have been engaging with Blockchain for Good Alliance since last year, and I think our collaboration is going very strong. I'm looking forward to tell you more about it today. Very nice to see you here. Thank you for coming.
Of course. So we'll keep this informal, right? Because this will be a fun one for the next half hour. And of course, I'm going old school today, preparing questions on a piece of paper here. Alright, so really, we want to begin with a quick sharing of what exactly the Blockchain for Good Alliance and the UNDP Outfit Lab has come together. So we are the founding partners behind the current ongoing SDG Blockchain Accelerator. It's ongoing right now throughout the world. We've seen very interesting projects participating as well as the real critical issues that different country officers in the UNDP have actually raised. So of course we had our first collaboration when we met in real life in Brussels, right, earlier in January this year. That really kickstarted our entire collaboration. So really want to discuss on the state of this entire accelerator itself, but would you want to give a quick overview on how the accelerator works just so everybody knows about it?
Yes, of course. So as you know, UNDP has 170 country offices. Country offices meaning is for us an office in the countries that we are collaborating together with. So we have, let's say, country office in Malaysia, we have country office in Bangladesh, we have country offices all around the world that are part of the developing countries, of course. And for this accelerator program, what we wanted to do was, we wanted to see the real life challenges that should be addressed with the blockchain technology. So we had open call for our colleagues, and we asked them, what are the problems you want to solve with blockchain? Of course, our colleagues at UNDP, they don't know so much about blockchain. They mostly think blockchain is only crypto and nothing more than that. But previous to that, we teach them, through our Blockchain Academy, how they can utilize blockchain across different parts that they're doing. Then they submitted us the challenges. We have received around 308 challenges, across 120 countries. That would, come from farmers, supporting farmers, and see how we can utilize blockchain as track and trace, or it will be digital identity for the refugees, or it will be digital payments in the countries where the banking system doesn't work. So we came together with Blockchain for Good Alliance, Stellar Development Foundation, Flock, Sui Foundation, and Emurgo Labs for the Cardano, and we wanted to see how we can match our country offices that have challenges in the countries, and then find solution makers within the communities, and see how they can pilot the project together. And to be honest, it has been quite interesting also for me, because we work for UNDP. We are a very bureaucratic organization. Whatever we want to do, we have to get approvals all the time. And the blockchain world is quite agile. It's quite fast, and it is a very fast-paced environment, and we are not normally used to that. So I think seeing these two coming together and to create an impact in the world was really something that was very inspiring for me. And sometimes we speak very different languages. At UNDP we speak a little bit more, politically correct, or we are very careful with what we are saying. In blockchain world, they are more, they say whatever that comes to their mind. So I think this two collaboration has been very interesting for us, but I see it very successful collaboration because it showcases actually these two different worlds can come together to create an impact. I'm sure most of the blockchain protocols, they care about making money, but at the same time, while you make money, you have to also try to do your best to create and give back to the world. So I think this collaboration is showcasing that we can do it together. So I'm really excited, and I find it very interesting, also for me as part of my work.
100%, right? Because like what you just mentioned as well, so many people in the world, they know the word crypto, but they think that blockchain equals crypto. But crypto really is just a subset of what blockchain can do. So I think this collaboration across so many partners that you mentioned, right? We grew from just BGA and the UNDP to now having so many different partners and different chains coming together to push this entire accelerator forward. It's the right direction, It's the education is going to be important, and this will really show people that blockchain can do so much more than just being a hype narrative. So from the UNDP's perspective, I'm also curious because what really started this entire motivation behind UNDP deciding let's hit into blockchain, when there are so many other technologies out there. Why blockchain?
Yes. Like to be honest, like it has been like quite challenging journey for us. It is because of the fact that most people thought like crypto is something that they should engage with. At UNDP level, when you work with governments, when you work with very big partners, you have to be very careful with what you're doing. And for us, we saw blockchain as one of the technologies that we should introduce to the governments or different stakeholders for them to understand that actually it's a technology that they can utilize across different parts of the world. And I think this was our starting point. And seeing the interest from like the blockchain the partners were quite like interesting because they have the solutions, but they are missing the challenges to address the solutions. And I think this is where we come in to say that these are the challenges we are facing. If you want to utilize your like solutions in a real life problem, that is where we come in. And also because of now UN is going through so many different structures because of the recent like, political issues. For that reason, I think as UNDP we need to also stay relevant. We need to step up. We need to show our partners that we are not an organization that was built in 1945 and that we are just like creating peace, but we have to make an actions. And I think with blockchain you can see that we can really like increase like efficiency and to reach hard to reach communities. And that is what we care the most, like leaving no one behind. So I think that this collaboration coming together is creating an impact, and I want to see more and more in the coming years.
And this entire collaboration is growing by the day, right? We're looking for this to be a multi-year collaboration. So this is, we call it a pilot, right? And we have also had discussions, offhand, offline, that we want this to also change not just the UNDP, but the UN ecosystem as a whole for this entire accelerator. So how do you see this being adopted by the different UN agencies, though? From UNDP to maybe other agencies like UNODC or etc. How do you think we want to bridge this across?
Yes, so our team is like UNDP Alternative Finance Lab team. We are actually the team that is like making sure that the blockchain is something that should be utilized like across different UN agencies. We are the lead for the community of practice. So we can see like UNICEF is working so many things, like doing like incredible things with blockchain. Same with UNHCR. UNHCR treasurer is very supportive of the initiatives. So I think, like for instance, like I'm sure you are aware that there was a United Nations General Assembly last week and this week, and on Monday, the top person at UNDP met with the C-level blockchains, and they discussed on more senior level what they can do together. Of course, like as a team, we can do our best. But if we don't get support from the senior management, both from the blockchains, like as well as ours, you cannot move things as much as you want. So I think like our role is now to make sure that we don't create the wheel all the time, but we come all all UN agencies together because we do like address the same challenges. The refugees that we work with at UNDP are the same refugees that UNICEF works. So like how we can come together and like create for them, let's say like digital identity. And I think very important thing that we should realize is we are all in this room are so lucky. We were born in countries that didn't have problems. And when I meet with my colleagues, let's say from Yemen, Sudan, or Burkina Faso, and when you speak to them, and actually you see that basic things that we take for granted in life, they have challenges with that. And I think some parts of it can be addressed with blockchain. I'm not saying like everything. And I think like basic things like like identity is something that is a big crisis in these countries. To make sure that these people can receive the funds from their families, or they can go buy food with the maybe like cryptocurrency because their banks don't work. And I think that to understanding how much impact we can create together, like all coming. And I think this has been the most like impactful thing that like we could do like as a team. And I think most of the UN agencies are interested because we have to step up. If not, we will not be relevant anymore.
Exactly. Actually, I like what you said. The part where there are so many problems that different countries are facing that we who are lucky enough to be born in, a little bit more developed places actually don't face, right? Things like identity, especially. We talk about Burkina Faso and different countries. We have set through different problem statements that they actually give to us, and it's also interesting because I like to challenge the mindsets that people have when they think about blockchain for good. They think that it's just about charity, or they think that all these sorts of initiatives are mainly left to be done by the governments, right? It's not something that's exciting enough to be done on a private sector level, but this is something different because the UNDP having this entire accelerator is you guys working with all of us, right, private sector organizations to push this on a more of a global level. So what really do you think is the most exciting part about this accelerator so far? We've seen so many projects and you are, okay, so just a quick one for the people in the audience. We had two different cohorts for this entire accelerator. Burcu was in charge of the first cohort and the rest of the partners. Now, right now, we're leading the ongoing charge of the second cohort. Both of them are kind of unique in their own ways. So, I want to share about some quick examples of some of the most interesting projects you've seen, maybe from cohort 1 or cohort 2.
So, like actually, there are so many like interesting projects that I can share with you. But like one of them is like like India has 2 billion people living in the country. They are having so many plastic waste that are going through the country. And now we match them with a company called like Plastics, and they are like track and tracing the plastic waste and seeing that like how they can make plastic waste less and make sure that we contribute to the climate. And now they are collaborating with our like UNDP country office in India, and most of the UNDP country offices they already work with governments. Of course, for a blockchain partner to bring central bank is maybe like quite difficult, but for us it is quite easy because we work with governments like all the time. So of course, if we can have a successful pilot and showcasing to the government, you can actually track and trace the plastic waste, and then like reduce the plastic waste. This will be of course something that is very like crucial for the countries. So now they are also talking with the government officials to see how they can make it as part of the government's like initiatives. And that is why like yesterday we had an event. We are building the government blockchain academy, and we want to teach governments how they can utilize blockchain. And of course, if governments can like adopt the blockchain, it would mean that it would go on like scalable level of like 2 billion people, or like 100 million people. So I really think that this collaboration is showcasing that our country offices, working closely with governments, are kind of proving us that they can make these pilots, not only pilots, but scalable projects that should go for years. And also, like whenever governments want to, like engage with like AI or blockchain, they would mostly come to UN agencies and they would say us like is this something can we trust and things like that. So I think with this accelerator, with our partnership with our country offices, we are showcasing to the governments that this is a technology that they can trust because it is just a technology. It is not only crypto money. So I think that we are really scaling up with these projects, and we are seeing so many projects coming up, like farmers, small farmers, like in Bangladesh, that don't get the money that they deserve actually, because there are always the middlemen, and they always get the lowest amount they can get. And with blockchain, we want to showcase that the farmers are actually getting what they're deserving and putting so much efforts. So I really see that we can scale up the projects on the like strong level and make sure that our country offices are contributing to that as well.
Right. So I want to ask something really curious as well, because you talked about the Government Blockchain Academy, right? But I'll hit on that later first. Before that, a pre-question. So this accelerator that we're doing, the UN, the UNDP, we have so many initiatives, so many programs, right? So of course this is going to be a bit of a biased question. What makes our accelerator actually stand out from all these so many other programs that the UNDP right now?
Yeah. So I mean, like I have been part of UNDP as I told you for the last 4 years, and I have been leading some of the like accelerators. The accelerators that we were doing in the past, they were like very different. We were working with like specific group of people, such as like NGOs, or we were working with like startups. But I think what's exciting about it is that first of all, it is first of it is kind. UNDP has never engaged with blockchain companies in this level. There has never been a situation where private sector like entities would sit down with our top management and discuss how we can bring this technology to the countries. So I think this is a very good example of that. At the same time, our accelerator is, I think, making sure that like we, like we met, for instance, like in Brussels. We met like on Monday. Yesterday we met with our blockchain partners. Like Bybit sits next to Kraken, they are competitors. Like Algorand sits next to Stellar, they are competing for digital payments. But for us, we tell them, we are not here to compete. We want to create an impact with your solutions that you have been working for so many years. So I think the uniqueness of this is that they really forget like who they are as a company. They just want to be in this room all together and see how they can like address the real life problems and create an impact. And I think that this is very unique because sometimes like when we wake up in the morning and we do our jobs, we want to be the best at it. But I think sometimes we also forget the impact level of it. And I think with this accelerator, we are showcasing that we only focus on one cause altogether. And I think the blockchain companies, they have to do it in the coming years. If not, they will not be relevant anymore. If they want to address digital payments in Middle East, they might have to come together and create something that works for everyone. If not, they will create the wheel all the time. So I think that we are showcasing to like all of them that we are here for a cause and we can like all do it together, and blockchain can play a role, or like, if it doesn't want to, of course it will not play a role, but I think that's the interest we get from our partners. We can see that they really want to do something in a real life problems.
And we become this bridge for all these competitors to be sitting at the same table, not talking about how they can outdo each other, but about how they can change the world. So it really creates this sort of soft power entry for a lot of organizations, even though they may be actually for profit. Now they have something common to start working together in order to push for societal good, right? So a little bit more on the Government Blockchain Academy, considering that the BGA may very well likely also be a part of the GBA. GBA, that makes sense. Okay, that's a bit big, but okay, so we want to talk to the crowd a little bit more about Government Blockchain Academy. You want to do a quick introduction on that one, and then dive into some questions on that.
Yes, of course. So we had the Blockchain Academy for the UN ecosystem last year, and it was kind of like my baby project, let's say. So I see this one as my second baby project because I think it is going to be very like influential. Most of the governments, they don't want to engage with blockchain because they are centralized organizations. So when you introduce them, decentralized organization, they think that they will lose power and control of what is going on in the country. So we want to teach governments that actually it is not something like this. It's a technology that they can utilize on different parts of the world. Let's give the example of like India again, 2 billion people, and of course you can imagine that some rural like communities, they don't have identities. So how can Indian government work with blockchain companies to build a system on digital identity? So we want to showcase them on a tailor base. We know that like India might not be maybe like interested in digital payments. Maybe they are more interested in like supply chain, or they are more interested in the plastic base. We want to like hear from them and see what is it that they need, and talk to our blockchain partners and saying to them, this is the problem that the Indian government like faces. How can we solve the problem? Of course, as an agnostic approach, we are then trying to find a solution to the governments and inform them what they can utilize blockchain for. So we are going to start with 3 pilot countries. So one of them will be from Asia. Maybe like one of the countries might be like Malaysia that we are discussing currently. One of them will be from Europe and Central Asia because of this is our office space. So like it might be Turkey, where I'm also from. And it might be also somewhere, like a country from Latin America. We want to cover all the continents is because of the fact that we want to have a lessons learned. We know that this is our first time. We will learn from our mistakes, and we will have, I think, a great educational program. But we don't want to teach them the technical aspects of blockchain. We just want to let them understand how they can utilize it across different sectors they're operating. And sometimes maybe they will not be interested to engage and have a stable coin in their countries because they don't want to do it. That's fine. But I think our role is here to make them understand how they can utilize blockchain so they can have their work done more efficient and most cost recovery based and engage with the blockchain partners. And I can see that like yesterday we had a lunch together with our blockchain partners and they were all very interested in that, of course, because they want to have access to the governments, and as UNDP we can do it. So it is something that I think is going to really have a scale up projects coming up with countries implementing blockchain, which is of course going to also support the blockchain ecosystem.
Right, I think that level of trust is very important. That's what the UNDP is really giving to all of the different blockchain layers as well as the ecosystems like the BGA. Being able to co-brand with you on a very strong, accelerator like this gives more legitimacy in the entire space itself. So when you talk about the Government Blockchain Academy, that's focused on the governments, and of course our accelerators focus on solving problems that different governments and countries can have. When you create all these different types of projects, you said now you have 2 babies, right? So how do you actually come across with planning these activities? Do you see them eventually converging? Are they 2 separate activities, or will the Government Blockchain Academy actually also be linked to the accelerator in the future?
It's actually this is a very good great question. Last year we had the Blockchain Academy for the UN ecosystem, so we want to teach our colleagues how they can utilize blockchain. And following that, we had the Accelerator program coming up now, and we are going to have 40 pilots by the end of the year across 35 plus countries. And what we saw was that most of our colleagues, they were already engaging with governments on their projects. So we say to ourselves, why not also make government blockchain academy? Because the governments are actually quite like interested in it. Maybe like in the 40 pilots, I'm just giving a number, I'm not 100% sure about the number, but maybe like 20 of them would be already engaging with governments as stakeholders. So I think that this is all coming together and lessons learned for us. And I think like Accelerator is very important because of the fact that we don't want it to be only education. If it was only education, they could go LinkedIn and learn about blockchain. That's all, you know. But we want them to also implement projects on blockchain. So I think the combination of education, making them comfortable about the fact that it's a technology they can utilize, and then have an acceleration program where they can have like hands-on experience on the pilots, are a kind of a good way of making it like through the blockchain like adaptation. So I think that this combination together is going to be successful.
Right, I also fully agree on that. How else do you actually think we could also, start attracting more private sector players? Right now, we're working with like different non-profits as well as companies that are more interested to actually support blockchain's use cases outside of crypto, right? But this is of course a question that is off the top of my head because I'm curious about this as well. How do you think that next year, moving forward with different collaborations, we can actually start to attract more players, institutions, banks, very traditional industries to join us on this mission together?
Yes, I think that it's going to happen naturally. Let's say we are going to have government blockchain academy in Malaysia. When we talk with the government, the central bank is going to sit at the same table with us and discuss how they can utilize blockchain on a like payments level on Malaysia. So I think that it is really going to come like naturally. I think if we showcase with our pilots that it's going to happen, the foreign pilots, if we can showcase that they are successful pilots, that are going to be scaled up, the governments are going to adopt it, I think more and more partners are going to approach us and say, why don't we do something together? And I think our role is like UNDP and the Blockchain for Good Alliance, that is actually why we are collaborating with Blockchain for Good Alliance. Now is that you're also like agnostic organization, of course as UNDP we have to be, and I think like our role will be to make sure that we are addressing the real life problems with solutions that can address them. And I think if we can showcase that we are an independent organizations that only care about the impact and see where can be the blockchain adaptation, then I think we are going to attract more and more partners. And the banks, or let's say for UNDP, it is quite easy whenever we want to include Minister of Finance in Malaysia. It is not difficult for us to bring them in the same table. And I think that we can see more and more adaptations. More governments are looking into that more. You can see like US government is already very much into that. And I think the other like the other governments, they don't want to be left behind. They don't want to be the governments that didn't maybe progress fast. In EU, for instance, right now, they are discussing the fact that they didn't do what they should have done, like in terms of the blockchain adaptation. And now EU wants to have blockchain adaptation as part of its policy. So I think that we should really make the stakeholders come and talk to us. That is why yesterday at the lunch, we had both blockchain protocols, we had exchanges, and we had governments sitting together and saying what we can do all together, to be able to make sure that we have effective projects.
I think that is also a very good point to make because the success of our pilots, the pilot projects right now, will actually impact very heavily, on the future successes of this entire Accelerator and all the other programs that will be collaborating on in the future as well. So I'm going to dive a bit more on the project side of things, right? Because it is true that in the world of blockchain, Web3, crypto, it is often not seen as what's a good word for it? It's not sexy. Right, for VCs and institutional funding to go into blockchain for good type projects. People think that it's just meant for charities, meant for organizations. So let's dive a little bit more onto the level of support that we actually give to these projects to actually help them scale, beyond just this accelerator. How are we helping them to gain more recognition and gain the chance to actually get more funding, get more marketing support, business strategies from our accelerator itself?
Yeah. So I think, I don't know if you know, there is something called impact washing. It would mean that you are saying you are doing impact, but actually you are not doing an impact, and you're just wanting to show your companies that you're, creating impact. And I think with the NDP, we have the role to not make impact washing, but to make all our partners understand that we will only partner with them if there will be a real life impact. Because this is our mandate. As UNDP, you cannot make a project without an impact. So I do believe that we are giving the companies the recognition that with UNDP, they are kind of verified to showcase that they are creating impact on the ground. And in addition, we provide them access to the governments, we provide them access to the stakeholders, If they want to meet with central banks, that's quite easy for us to do. If they want to connect to the bank that is the most popular in the countries, we can connect to them. And I think that maybe in the beginning it might not sound very profitable, approach to supporting people projects, but actually it is not like this at all. Because if you work with governments and there will be 2 billion people that is going to use your chain, of course there's a lot of benefits and profits that are going to come to the venture capitalists or the other companies that want to invest. So I think that we are bringing the credibility, we are bringing the UN name, we are bringing the access to the governments, different stakeholders, and at the same time to let's say impactful real projects that will create an impact on the ground. So I think the combination can be attractive to our partners, and I can see now that more and more partners want to join our Accelerator next year. So I think we are showcasing it to them more and more that this is what we want to do, and I think we have kind of made a brand now, I think.
I believe so as well. We started with 2 and now I think we're 6 and probably growing even more. So one of my last questions before maybe if we have time we'll jump into a bit of a Q&A if anybody here has questions. So future plans, something that we haven't really discussed because I believe you and I will probably have to sit down with our broader team in order to discuss all this, right? But just on your personal perspective, what do you think you want for the future iterations of this accelerator? How else do you see it growing?
Yeah, I think that the impact fund that Helen also mentioned is so important because we can have the best projects in the world. They look very impactful and everything, but of course we need funds to be able to implement the projects. So I do think that building an impact fund that is gonna support these most impactful projects is gonna be at the core of what we want to do at UNDP. So next year we are really looking into how we can, engage exchanges and see that how they could contribute because they are making a lot of money day by day. So how some part of the funds that they are having can then be given to the impact projects is going to be, I think, at the core. And at the same time, I think we should include more and more blockchain-like protocols because I think the more we have of them, the more solutions they will provide, which would mean that then we would find the best match much more easier. So this is where I see it, and I think that first we have to have a successful accelerator coming this year, and following that, I think we should grow from it. Yesterday, at our event, we had the president of the Ethereum Foundation, and we had very big blockchain protocols sitting with us. So also seeing their contribution to the adaptation and supporting the impact projects is going to be at the core of our next steps. And at the same time, I also think that working with other UN agencies is going to really support because we are really all working for the same causes. So I think that if we come all together with the governments, different stakeholders, UN agencies, blockchain protocol exchanges all together, I think that we can create an impact and then have hopefully a better future for all of us.
100%, and that's what we really are, right? We are this convergence point for all the players in the market who want to push blockchain for good forward. That's really the motivation that gives us all this energy to run all these initiatives that we're doing. So this is another conversation that we had really is talking about the SDG Blockchain Accelerator. It's an ongoing accelerator between many partners, between the UNDP, our Finland, the Blockchain for Good Alliance, Emergo, Stella Development Foundation, SUI, is anybody else? Flock. Yes, okay, so we have many partners and we're obviously hoping to grow them. So we never ever know who's in the audience and who's listening to this conversation. So I just want to take the last couple of minutes to open the questions to the floor, just if anybody has any questions, and I see somebody does. So yeah, sure. I'll just sit down and give her.
Thank you. So first, thank you both for sharing your experiences, projects, and for that we have. It's very interesting to listen to. My question is that I think you mentioned that you have over 300 applicants, right? So my question is, how do you decide which projects you will support or give grants to? Do you have focus areas or?
Yeah. So we have different criteria that we wanna look into that. So as I mentioned to you, we are working with UN country offices. So we are looking for projects that already has existing partnerships. We don't want them to go into a new project that has no partners. So we are looking for country offices that are already supporting existing projects that are on the ground. For instance, to give an example of UNDP India, they are already collaborating with Coca-Cola for the plastic waste. So now, when they're integrating the blockchain project to the same project, it would mean that they already have the funding. They already have the some kind of capacity. to, like engage with the beneficiaries. So they already know the community very well. So they will not start from zero. That's very important for us. Like additional thing is that we are saying to the both our like blockchain like companies as well as country offices that we would like co-financing. We don't want the investors to just come and give them $50,000, and if they don't get the money, they cannot move forward. We don't want them. So we told them that they have to have co-financing aspect. They should approach more partners. If let's say an investor want to bring $50,000, at least then our country office and the companies, they should also put in something from their side to showcase that they're actually committed to the cause. That is very important at the same time. And we are looking for the scalability aspect. And I think that is, like for me, one of the most important things is because we don't want these projects to be a one project and done. And we are done with Accelerator in December. They supported 50 people. It doesn't mean success for us, It has to prove that it's a success that can scale up. The governments should be engaging with it. Like hopefully, if it's a relevant project for them, and I think that they should be engaging more stakeholders as much as they can. So we have some criteria, but of course an investor will decide what they want to do. But from our side, we will also provide them some kind of a guidance, which projects we believe are more impactful and most scalable. Do you want to also add something?
I think you answered most of the stuff already, actually. But sure, I'll add on a little bit as well. We also look at the logic behind the different projects, because out of all the 300 applications, of course, the different partners took in different projects on their own tracks. Sometimes a project that we receive, they work well in theory, but when you really put it through the ringer and you test the founders, through the interviews, through the pitches and the demo days that they try to conduct, then you start to realize that it works well in theory, but execution in the real world will not make sense. Now, I'm not gonna state what project, but for example, when you talk about land title deeds, in certain countries, there were projects that came forward to say they wanted to put all these deeds on chain, which is a very fair thing to do because this gives you transparency there, so that no two same people can actually claim the same right over a piece of land. So it makes perfect sense. But when it came down to it, when you studied the economics of the country, the status and geographical issues the country faces, you start to see that it's very much deeply plagued in issues like corruption. It's very much not transparent in the things that it's trying to do. So even though blockchain can be a solution for it, the implementation on the ground itself is not going to be fair, it's not going to be logical, and therefore it's not going to be scalable. So I think that for situations like this, in the lens of just this project itself, I think precursor things need to be done first. For instance, measures need to be in place to prevent corruption in the highest levels in the first place, in order for blockchain solutions to come in and then solve these problems. So I think that sometimes it doesn't just fall down to the logic behind the project, but how applicable it can be to the country by first understanding in the country itself where it's trying to be implemented. Does it make sense? Does it fall into compliance and local regulations? If it does, can it actually still be carried out? Does the situation of the country actually make sense for this project to be carried out? And unfortunately, that's also why we had to reject this particular project from taking part, even though the project, the tech, makes perfect sense. But when you start to think about it, actually having there, you're going to see the cases where the local government's there because of corruption issues. It's not going to be accepting of something like this because they don't want the transparency to be there. And that's why we have to, filter out such a project.
So I have a question. I'm very excited.
Last question is?
Yeah, this is only the last question. So I actually have a background in development studies from Cambridge, and I'm very excited that I have you guys speak about this. And I've always been questions like why I studied development studies and ended up in crypto. But exactly this is the vision I see why UN should be stepping into it and make the financial sustainable. Because previously I was working in Tanzania for a while, and the reason why we stopped it was because it was not financially sustainable. So my question, even I come from a media background now, and also we're going to Copenhagen to support the the VGA. Yeah, and we also have a campus product, which is to support the educational stuff in crypto. So I think we have a lot to talk about afterwards. But regardless, I just want to ask you how, obviously we have Bytebeans and this Accelerator project is great. But I think in practical, there's a lot of financial sustainability we want to talk about. So I want to ask how dedicated we are, and also what is the model for MEL. You would know monetary evaluation, a learning process, and how does the whole thing turn around for the Accelerator, and is it going to be a sustainable, or is it going to be like a one session thing for support the project? Because I think it's very important to keep this going on and on, so and make sure that things are actually going to the place. And I think there's a lot of the nuances how it works in practice with farmers and stuff, because obviously they have different psychological ideas on how things should be implemented. So I want to give this question to you and then ask the vision of how you want to carry this out.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I do think that, at UNDP, we are mostly the organization. Like whenever, let's say, like a company, they want to check out if they are creating impact, they would come to UN agencies and ask if we can assess it. So the good thing is that, let's say we are having an accelerator program in Malaysia, we have our country office on the ground. So they can go and check the beneficiaries, they can interview them, they can check did they really implement what they promised us, they can check what went wrong. They can then tell us about the lessons learned, and then of course we are going to bring all these lessons learned and make it part of the accelerator. This is our first blockchain accelerator, and we are not saying we know everything, but we are doing our best, and I think this is going to be a learning process for us. But I think sustainability aspect is very, very important. So you know that now your agencies are getting less and less funds. So whenever we want to engage with something, our senior management is asking us, is this a project for 1 year? You will get $5 million, it doesn't matter the money. And let's say we are getting $5 million for this accelerator program. They don't care about the money. They are asking us, is it a sustainable project? Are you going to have it next year again and again? If not, they don't want to support it anymore, because we, UN agencies, we have to step up and we have to showcase that we are sustainable organizations. We are part of the sustainable development goals, so of course we have to make it. An important part of it, for an action point for us, is going to be like creating an impact fund. We don't want to see blockchain protocols coming and only investing in their own projects. We want them to contribute to a fund that will support the most impactful projects, regardless of which chain it is built on. And I think that is where we want to see the roles of the blockchains. And I think exchanges like Bybit or Kraken and other ones, they will play a role of contributing to the causes that are impactful, that can be scaled up, that can be implemented by the governments on a like high level like adaptation, and then kind of put the funds for it, because without funds we cannot do like anything. So I think to have this impact fund and for them to contribute to the cause yearly based, because then of course if you contribute to a cause, it would mean that you also want to have a say in it. Then it would mean that if they want digital payments in Arab states, then they would contribute to the cause, and then we can connect them to digital payments in Arab states, and then of course then we can scale up from that. So I think impact fund is going to play like very important role, and when we build this like accelerator with BJ, we never say that it will not be a project for now. We say that it's a long-term partnership. So I think that we are going to go like even stronger, and I think we are going to have more blockchain products joining us as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so we do need to wrap up this fireside chat, right? Thank you for the question. I hope Burcu has answered your question very well, actually. So that is really the end of our fireside chat. I actually overshot the time without realizing, so let's not get into the rest of the activities. Thank you to everyone for being here. It was very nice for Burcu and I to be sharing a bit more on the SDG Blockchain Accelerator, which was kicked off by the UNDP, BG, and so many other amazing partners that we have right now. So you know what? We are continuously, expanding the partnerships that we have. So do stay tuned for that one, and we'll be hanging around the event venue, so you can always hit us up for any further questions or conversations. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.